A lone stray dog blanketed in snow stood still in the falling snow, his body rigid and his breath apparent in the chilly air. Near the edge of a country road, Frost stood next to a half-frozen cardboard box. He didn't bark or whine. Instead, he just stood there with his legs shaking from the cold eyes fixed on whatever was inside the box. Drivers passed by, hardly looking, as the snow began to fall harder and stick to his back and tail, but he didn't move for some reason. It wasn't until an older man named Jack, who was taking his usual route to town, noticed the odd sight of a dog frozen in place next to a box in the middle of a snow-covered field. Jack reduced his speed and finally stopped, and the dog tilted his head slightly but remained inside the box. He said, "Hey, buddy," as Jack's boots crunched into the ice ground. "What are you guarding?" The dog didn't run when he got closer. Instead, he put one paw lightly on the box's edge and said, "Look inside." Jack knelt down, his breath catching in his throat, and inside, curled into a shredded towel, was a tiny kitten that was barely alive. Her fur was wet and matted, and her whiskers were frozen. She shivered violently, too weak to cry. The dog had no collar, no hag, and his fur was clumped with ice, and one of his paws was bleeding, but somehow he had dragged or pushed the box through the snow to the roadside in search of assistance. There were no tracks, but he had no food or shelter. Just this animal would not let the kitten die alone. Jack wrapped the kitten in his scarf and opened the truck's passenger door. He turned to the dog, uncertain, but the dog climbed in without hesitation, not to avoid the cold but to remain close to the kitten at the animal clinic. The dog, who the staff named Shadow, lay down outside the glass chamber and did not move for 2 days. He refused food and water, and his eyes never left her. Eventually, the kitten, now named Luna, opened her eyes. Her first steps were shaky, but as soon as she was strong enough to walk, she pressed her tiny face against the glass toward Shadow. When they were reunited, she climbed onto his back and fell asleep, and for the first time, Shadow closed his eyes and truly rested. A retired nurse who had lost her husband the previous year adopted Shadow and Luna together after they shared their story online. People were astounded not only by the dog's loyalty but also by his instinct to protect something so delicate in the bitter cold. One particular photo, of Shadow curled around Luna as snow fell outside the clinic window, spoke of silent devotion of a love that asked for nothing, not even warmth. "After all," she said, "they saved each other, and now they're helping heal me too." They live in a warm house with a fireplace these days, and Luna naps on Shadow's back. On snowy mornings, Shadow sits by the window and watches the flakes fall, not out of fear but rather with remembrance, as if recalling the day he stood alone in the snow and refused to let love die, because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay. Sometimes true love isn't loud, it doesn't come with words or grand gestures, it's a shivering dog standing in the snow refusing to leave a dying kitten behind. Stories like Shadow and Luna remind us what it means to